Welcome to NACTV Reads the News. My name is Cathy McGrath, and I'm one of many volunteers that help create programming for our station. NACTV can be seen on MTS Channel 30 or 1030, Westman Cable Channel 17, Bell Satellite Channel 592, or online at nactv.tv. These programs are made possible by our volunteers, staff, advertisers, as well as donations made by you, the viewers. If you are enjoying your NACTV experience, please consider supporting us by either donation or volunteering. You can contact our office at 204-476-2639 or at nactv@wcgwave.ca. And today's issue of the Neepawa Banner and Press is for Friday, March 22nd, 2024. And on the front page, by Ken Waddell, the Banner and Press, Kooba Cattle Co of Eden tops premium beef sale. Pictured above is Kooba 1L raised by Kooba Cattle Company, Matthew and Jewel Kabaki of Eden. The bull sold for $21,500 to Maxwell Simmentals and Tri-K Simmentals, both from Alberta. At the Transcon Premium Beef Simmental Bull Sale on Sunday, March 17th, and even on to Monday morning, Matthew and Jewel Kabaki of Eden were a pretty happy pair. Their first-time entry into Transcon's Neepawa sale was a January 2023 bull that they raised. The very showy bull topped the sale at $21,500. Matthew Kolbaki said, "This is all fairly new and exciting for us, as we're usually on the other side of the bidding. We were very honored to be joining Transcon and the premium beef crew. Jewel and I have owned and managed a multi-generational cattle herd for decades now, calving mostly in January. We bought Mr. Hyatt as a herd sire in the 2021 Cattle Country Sale in Neepawa for our commercial cows, and boy did he add beef to the steers, especially on the heavier Simmental-influenced cows. So it got us thinking, let's give him a couple of purebred cows and see what he can do. That decision was obviously the right one, as the two yearling bulls came in with great yearling weights. Kooba 1L had a yearling weight of 1,420 pounds, and 3L had a yearling weight of 1,330 pounds. 1L sold for $21,500 and 3L for $8,000. And moving on, Neepawa supports People Helping People Radiothon by Owen Devereaux. And pictured above on the left, from left to right, Stride Credit Union Marketing Assistant Stacy Turner, Regional Manager Michelle Gilmore, and Carter Kennington of CFRY MIX 96 Portage Online at the Radiothon in Neepawa on Thursday, March 14th. The above picture shows Neepawa Branch Stride Credit Union staff members Amanda, and Ndani working at the customer wickets. For the first time ever this year, Neepawa was able to help out an incredible worthy cause based on the Central Plains region. On Thursday, March 14th, our local Stride Credit Union branch was home to the Simplot People Helping People Radiothon. This fundraiser was broadcast live on the group of radio stations operated out of Portage La Prairie and was seeking support for Central Plains Cancer Services, CPCS. The CPCS is a non-profit organization that first began in Portage back in 1998. Over the last 26 years, it's been dedicated to improving the quality of life for cancer patients, survivors, and their families, and providing services to support those affected by cancer. Its efforts have been felt in over 70 communities throughout central Manitoba, as well as part of Westman. Last year's Radiothon had set a goal of bringing in $50,000. When it was all over, they had raised $77,000. This year's goal is even more ambitious, as they're hoping to hit the $100,000 mark. To aid in this massive fundraising effort, the Radiothon's reach was expanded out to new communities such as Neepawa. For several hours on Thursday, representatives of Stride Credit Union and the CFRY MIX 65 were on location doing live remotes and sharing details on the importance of Central Plains Cancer Services outreach. Stacey Turner of Stride Credit Union spoke with the Banner and Press on their involvement with the Radiothon. Turner said their institution is extremely proud to support this program. Stride Credit Union has been a sponsor, definitely in the community, of Central Plains Cancer Services. It's been a great fit for us over the years, and being able to share that in Neepawa with all our credit union members is a great fit, said Turner. A representative with Central Plains Cancer Care was unable to be in attendance in Neepawa for the Radiothon. However, in an interview with Golden West Broadcasting earlier in the week, Cancer Services Executive Director Sherilyn Knox said the Radiothon has very quickly become a big part of their fundraising effort. She added Stride's support is also greatly appreciated. I think it'll be great. We're doing live on locations with the Stride Credit Union. They have become a great partner in this, and we're doing live on locations at their branches in Gladstone, Neepawa, and McGregor, noted Knox to Michelle Bloom of Portage Online. As for the final results of Stride's support of the CPCS, all of the branches collected a combined amount of over $11,000. The credit union then topped up that donation to $15,000 on Monday, March 18th. Meanwhile, the total amount raised for Central Plains Cancer Service this year through all donation channels surpassed initial goal and ended up being $108,003. So, Looking Back by Casper Warren. Farewell to a long-serving Kelwood postmaster. Farewells were said to Kelwood's postmaster Irene Gunn in March of 1974 after her conclusion of 44 years of service. She is pictured center with Helen Sewell on the left and John Sewell on the right. Helen worked with Gunn from time to time, while John was formerly the postmaster at Norgate. Don took charge of the Kelwood office on March 12, 1974, with Helen acting as assistant. So, 125 years ago, 1899. The hose tower on the fire hall is nearing completion and beginning to look monumental. When the fire hall is in thorough working order, Neepawa will have a pretty well-equipped firefighting outfit. 100 years ago, 1924. 1,000 people attend the auction sale at the Brody Brothers near Franklin on Wednesday and paid half cash on purchases aggregating $6,000. Cows sold as high as $70. 4 young Englishmen and 3 Slovaks arrived via the CNR on Wednesday, supposed to be billeted for different farmers in the neighborhood, but there were none to meet them. 3 of the Englishmen returned to Winnipeg on Thursday. The Slovaks stuck around and found employment. A group of Doukhobors from Virden passed through yesterday for Brandon, en route to Russia, whence they came years ago. 75 years ago, 1949. The funeral service for James Dark, 90, pioneer resident of Neepawa and District, who passed away at his home here on Friday, March 18th, was held in Knox Presbyterian Church on Monday, with Reverend Douglas Anderson officiating. Mr. Dark was born at Brussels, Huron County, Ontario, here in 1882, and they farmed in the Union District. Mr. and Mrs. Dark returned to Neepawa in 1914. Mrs. Dark predeceased her husband in 1927. Mr. Dark was a governor of the Neepawa Hospital Board for several years and also served on the Parks Board. He was a member of the Masonic and the IOOF lodges here. Surviving is the grandson, James Dark of Winnipeg. A son, George, died in October 1948. Plans were discussed for the proposed new hospital in Neepawa at a meeting of the Organization Committee for Neepawa Hospital District No. 9 on Wednesday, March 16th. Practically all members were in attendance. The committee decided to leave disposition of the present hospital out of the scheme, but the members present representing the town of Neepawa and all adjacent municipalities felt that through a joint effort, the present hospital could be retained as a home for the aged and infirm, for which there is much demand in the district. 50 years ago, March 1974, Kelwood. Mr. and Mrs. I. Gunn returned on March 11th after 44 years' service at the Kelwood Post Office, 12 years as assistant and 32 years as postmaster. Irene Gunn came to Kelwood when she was a little girl and has lived there for over 60 years. She was the third appointment to the office of postmaster in Kelwood in over 60 years. For some 37 years, the post office was her house. Then 8 years ago, a lovely building was erected, especially for the purpose. John and Helen Sewell are the new postmaster and assistant, beginning March 12th. 3 First War veterans met at the Hamilton Hotel for a chat on former days. John Paulin, 72, who has been in Neepawa for 4 years, formerly of Clan William, joined up with the 278th Battalion from Minnedosa and fought from Mons to Vimy Ridge. J.A. McLennan, 89, has been in Neepawa for 2 weeks. He was born in Ontario, lived in Kenora, and then in Winnipeg for the past 43 years. He joined the Skilled Railway Employees Battalion and carried ammunition and supplies to the front line. James Meekings, 84, has lived in Neepawa since 1928. He joined the Imperial Army and fought from Mons to Vimy Ridge. When McLennan was asked if he fought at Vimy Ridge, he replied, "No, those other fellows would have starved if it hadn't been for me." High wind Thursday night, March 14th, or early Friday morning, blew the canvas canopy off the top of the rental housing block which is under construction on Davidson Street. Kelwood. Never in the history of the Kelwood Curling Club has there been such a successful local bonspiel and such widespread interest evidenced when a record total of 30 rinks entered the 4 events. 20 years ago, March 2004. Corporal Judy Watt and her 5-year-old German Shepherd Boss were in Neepawa last Wednesday doing what Boss likes best, working. Well, they were really training, but Watt, the first female dog handler in Manitoba, said Boss behaved as if he were on a real RCMP assignment. Before becoming a dog handler, Watt raised German Shepherd puppies for the dog handling program based in Innisfil, Alberta. Boss came to her as a 4-week-old puppy and has been with her ever since. Watt and Boss are the only dog handler team based in Dauphin, covering Manitoba West. The RCMP also has dog handlers in Portage-la-Prairie. And there's an advertisement down here from Leach and Vickery. Had this advertisement in the March 1924 edition of the press. Diamond rings from $12 to $175. And coming up at the Roxy this week, March 22nd and 23rd, showtime 7:30, is Dune Part 2. There'll be no regular movies on March 29th and 30th. And on April 5th and 6th and April 7th, a matinee, Kung Fu Panda 4. And Home Buddies by Rita Friesen. Ramblings. The winds these past few weeks have been unrelenting. It blows from the south, it howls from the north, east wind brings moisture, and west wind simply blows and blows. This has not altered my daily walking. There are times when the excursion has been unpleasant. As I braced into one of the north winds, dang near walking at an angle to make any headway, the thought came to me, I need to fight the wind to achieve my destination, but coming home, the journey is all with the wind. That is a reflection on many portions of my life journey, bucking and bracing to get what I need to be, and then, for time, coasting, rest, and repeat. I was speaking with my younger sister. She was heading out to drop off some of the many quilts she creates for MCC. The drop-off depot is in Plum Coulee, and that takes her right through Winkler. For decades, the trip would have included a stop to see one of our aunts on our mother's side. Now there is none left. It's a strange feeling to realize that their stories rest with us. And when we're going, in all likelihood, those stories will be gone as well. It's not exactly comforting to be reminded that we are the elders, the eldest family members. I have become very selective about watching the news. It is no longer a daily occurrence. That does not mean I don't care about the state of the world. It does mean that much of current events isn't doing my mental health any good right now. Close friends clue me in when there is an earth-shaking event that deserves my attention. And I do have one source online that I trust. So I'm okay shying away from the horrific events, man-made and natural, that are shaping our world. Not for me, not right now. I have, for the first time, grow lights, and this is exciting for me. There are micro tomatoes and micro cucumbers that should be self-pollinating and produce fruits in the house all season. We'll see. I have started several different types of petunias. Those seeds are so tiny that I overseeded several pods, so I get to transplant tiny little greens into more pods. I'm amazed at how resilient and hardy these plants are proving to be. I am ready to start planting the broccoli and cauliflower this week. This is a project that I have long longed to do. After misordering the grow lights, 4 feet were way too long for the shelf, and getting the 2-foot ones properly assembled and hung, I was ready for the task at hand. About that daylight saving time and clock changing, when I filled up with fuel and the young person asked if I wanted the windows washed or oil checked, I said, "Thanks, but could you change the clock in the car?" Quick look to see if I was serious and a gentle decline. Went inside to pay for the fuel. "Anything else? Car wash? Lottery tickets?" "Nope, just change the clock in the car." Same reaction, sadly. And we have thumbs up and thumbs down. 2 thumbs up to the cook at Kinsman Courts 2. The food was super, from Helen Plas. A huge thumbs up to Miss Sienna Dennis Peters, students, and people associated for the awesome 2 recitals at the Roxy on Sunday. It was a delight to see the kids dance their hearts out and remember so much choreography. John Lackey. And thumbs up to Rita Friesen for her well-written article, Farewell, published March 15th edition of the Banner and Press, from Elizabeth Clark. And there is a correction, an editor's note that one error for correction in our March 15th edition of the Banner and Press. In the front page story, Neepawa is home to national track and field champions. We listed the gold medal winning triple jump made by Dax Turner at 15.82 feet. It was, in fact, 15.82 meters. Apologies on the mistake. As you can tell from the error, our reporter in this case never had the makings of a varsity athlete. And the Gladstone Market Report by Tyler Slowinski. Howdy, cattle producers. Here's the Gladstone Auction Mart Report for Tuesday, March 19th. The weather can't seem to make up its mind, but it's March after all, and Manitoba. The roller coaster temperatures are at least allowing some of the excess water to get away without flooding all at once. Perhaps some of the valuable moisture is even soaking in. We are right in the middle of bull sale season, with many cull bulls finding their way to town. Just when we thought we were running short of cows, they seem to keep flowing in at steady paces. The feeder cattle market was strong in most areas, although the futures being pressured slightly knocked some money off the plainer second and third choice cattle. The front row held many orders, and all classes of cattle had demands. We sold 1,655 cattle through the ring in Gladstone yesterday. The market saw a variety of cattle, whether they were big or small. The market welcomed all classes of cattle with open arms. The market was quite aggressive, with reassuring returns. Cattle futures saw some slight pressure this week. As a result, some prices in certain weight breaks saw corrections, but nothing to remove the optimism that is still at an all-time high. Cows and bulls traded with plenty of strength from 145 to 160.5, with sales to 165 showing higher averages. Bulls traded with demand ranging from 175 to 197.5, with sales to 200. All classes of cattle sold well. Plainer type cattle are still being discounted. Some market highlights from today's sale. Shar steers weighed 440, brought 535. Crossbred steers weighed 518 and brought 460. Red steers weighed 628 and traded for 410. And a big set of black cross steers weighed 752 and they brought 380 per pound. Heifers, black heifers, weighed 455 and brought 433. A set of buckskin heifers that weighed 515 fetched 416. Crossbred heifers weighed 638 for 361. And a big set of black heifers weighed 762, brought 324. That hopefully gives you an idea of how the market played out. This has been Tyler Slawinski reporting for the Gladstone Auction Mart, and thank you for being a part of our industry. And once again, Helen's got some wonderful recipes in here, and she also has a little article. Party lines. Yes, you had to wait to place a call. The party line meant sharing a line with 10 or more households. You heard everyone's phone ring. You had your own distinctive ring pattern so that you could identify your own call. An example, 2 long rings or 2 short rings, or a long ring and a short ring. And of course, you couldn't make a call or receive a call if the line was tied up by another person on the party line. If anyone in another home was on the phone, you could listen in on their conversation. Of course, this was the bane of courting people or anyone who did not want their conversation heard by people. If they thought they heard you pick up to see if the line was available and not politely hang back up, you could call out on it. Hang up! For those who were nosy or bored, listening in on other people's conversations was a favorite pastime. This was called rubbering. Telephone companies used manual telephone switchboards, and switchboard operators connected calls by inserting a pair of phone plugs into the appropriate jacks. The role of the switchboard operator was important because they were responsible for connecting callers with the correct party and ensuring that calls were completed correctly. They also provided assistance with making long-distance calls, directory assistance, and other services related to the use of the telephone network. Central, the operators, especially before the days of radio, supplied all kinds of information, such as the time, world news, and the community's newest baby's arrival. Operators were not to listen in, but they did. They knew if the doctor was in or away at a call, often sent help to a family with an illness, and generally helped the people they served. General rings, one long, could be sent out to make announcements such as whose home was on fire so as to come and help fight fire, who had passed away, and when the funeral was being held, and so on. If you wanted to call a person that was not on your line, you had to crank one long ring. This would connect you to Central and an operator. You had to tell her the number or name, and she would get you connected. Long-distance calls were very expensive and rarely occurred. When they did happen, the clock was carefully watched as the calls were expensive for most people. People would exchange the latest news, the latest gossip, and even their favorite recipes over the phone. From the era of party lines comes today's recipes. From 1954, the evening branch of the St. James Women's Auxiliary Cookbook comes with these gems. Many businesses of the day had sponsorship advertisements in the cookbook with their phone numbers. Examples, Ray's Dry Cleaners and Fur Storage, phone 86. Wilma Rose's Elite Beauty Salon, phone 459. E. Justin Hipwell, manufacturers of Hips Flavored Syrup, phone 423. Belly Toys Restaurant, Neepawa's most modern restaurant, the Royal Cafe and Banquet Room, phone 87. And F.S. Burgess, owner of Sunnyside Meat and Groceries, advertised Smiling Service, phone 10. And she does have 4 recipes in here, meat roll, apple Alexandra salad, Lenten seafood special, and orange cake. Beautiful Plains School Division approves its 2024-2025 budget by Owen Devereaux. The Board of Trustees for the Beautiful Plains School Division has approved the 2024-2025 budget. In total, $28,814,400 in operating expenses has been agreed upon for the next academic year. This amount is a year-over-year budget increase of around $2,256,400, or roughly 8.5%. 28,814,400 in 24-25 versus 26,558 in 23-24. A portion of the new spending is going towards the cost increases for all staff, as well as the addition of full-time equivalent staff to support the division's rapid growth. Since 2021, the number of students in Beautiful Plains has risen from 1,973 to 2,069. That number is expected to increase even further to 2,318 in the next academic year. As for the budget's effect on the average property owner, this will be seen in their education property taxes as an increase of a little over 5%. The numeral example of this would be an extra $23 in taxes for every $100,000 of assessed property value. The budget for Beautiful Plains School Division is funded 62.9% through provincial funding and 34.2% through local funding. The other 2.9% is raised through tax grants and other revenues. Beautiful Plains School Division has 14 schools within the district, with its major centers as Carberry, Neepawa, Brookdale, and Eden. It has approximately 300 staff members and 2,260 plus students. An armed robbery at Highway 16 and 10 rest stop. RCMP takes suspects into custody and seizes firearms by the Banner staff. In pictures is Maruk, the police service dog who helped locate a suspect who fled during the incidents that occurred on March 14th. Unsavory activities got a bright and early start last week. Manitoba Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, report that Spruce Plains RCMP received word of an armed robbery at the rest stop on Highway 16 and Highway 10 on March 14th at approximately 5:30 a.m. The report states that there were 4 individuals in this incident. These suspects, while at the Highway 16 and 10 rest stop, stole a truck at gunpoint. After securing the truck, the individuals fled westward. Shortly after this incident, Yellowhead RCMP received report of 4 suspicious people in Strathclair. Officers attended the community immediately, and 3 of the suspects were taken into custody, with the 4th escaping on foot. This 4th individual was believed to be armed. Manitoba RCMP states that cautionary measures were taken at this time, putting the Strathclair Community School in a hold and secure, an emergency procedure that is intended to protect occupants of a building from a violent threat in close proximity to it, but not directly targeting it. A large police presence was in the Strathclair community looking for the suspect. As part of this presence, the RCMP emergency response team was called out, and RCM police dog services were on the scene to assist. The escaped suspect was tracked by a short time later by police service dog Maruk. The suspect was found hiding inside a vehicle in the community of Strathclair and taken into custody. Police Services dog Maruk also located 2 firearms which have been recovered by the RCMP. As of the report made on March 14th, the 4 suspects remain in custody. The investigation into this criminal activity continues, and police are seeking further information related to the incident. Specifically, if anyone encountered the 4 suspects, they are asked to call either Spruce Plains RCMP at 204-476-7340, Crime Stoppers anonymously at 1-800-222-8477, or secure tip online at www.manitobacrimestoppers.com. And the Strathclair Drama presents Shrek, submitted by the Strathclair Drama Club. The cast and crew are busy on their 40th production for the Strathclair Drama Club. This year's play is none other than Shrek the Musical, a fairy tale story that turns fairy tales on their heads. It is the perfect show to celebrate such a milestone because it has a little bit of everything, touching moments, beautiful songs, and of course, lots of laughs. It even has a 19-foot dragon, and she is something. Shrek the Musical tells the story of Shrek, an ogre, played by Stan Runyons, who sees the world as mean and cruel, so he keeps to himself in his little swamp. When the evil Lord Farquaad, played by Randy Collin, banishes all storybook characters to Shrek's swamp, Shrek must do something about it. Saving his swamp location becomes his mission, and along the way he meets a talking donkey, played by Eric Menzies, and the beautiful Princess Fiona, played by Ashton Lefebvre, who has a big secret. The journey Shrek takes is more than saving his home from the world. It might just help Shrek find his place in the world. Returning to the stage to celebrate their 40th production is Lisa Vasconcelos, who's the voice of the dragon. While watching this production, you'll find yourself laughing, gasping, crying, and cheering, and you will more than likely leave the theater humming. The cast of around 50 people play everything from a baby bear to a regiment guard, and they have been diligently working to put on a great show that is sure to entertain you. Whether you've never missed a show or have just recently found out about our drama club, we hope you'll be able to attend. Production week at the Bend Theatre begins April 22nd and continues until April 27th. The show runs Monday to Friday with a 7:30 p.m. show, and new this year, a Saturday afternoon matinee at 2 p.m. For more information, be sure to follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Strathclair Drama Club. Tickets go on sale for the public on March 23rd by phone only from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Numbers to call: 204-365-2436, 204-365-2766, 204-365-7246, 204-210-0119. The club also has plans to celebrate 40 shows this summer with a social evening on July 6th. Further details will be released closer to the date, and the planning committee and board of directors hopes everyone who has been involved, cast, crew, and audience members, will consider joining us in the celebration. Haywood makes history at mixed provincials in Neepawa, and pictured above, Team Weeb of the Carmen Curling Club won the 2024 Chicken Chef Mixed Curling Provincial Championship in Neepawa. The team consists of, left to right, Ryan Weeb, 4th, Shayla Hayward, 3rd, Ty Diello, 2nd, and Jennifer Clark-Rauer, lead. Pictured on the left, the Neepawa Curling Club was represented by Hella Delacqui, lead, Kyle Seversko, 2nd, Michelle Jakubowski, 3rd, and Paul Robertson, 4th. And Dallas Robertson. This was submitted. Carmen Shayla Haywood made Manitoba curling history as 3rd for Ryan Weeb's Fort Rouge team when they won the Chicken Chef mixed last weekend in Neepawa. Haywood became the first person in Manitoba's long curling history to win 3 Manitoba championships in the same curling season. Earlier, she had skipped her team to the Manitoba under-18 women's and under-21 women's titles. The young Carmen curler added to this year's championships total by winning Curling Canada's under-18 championship, and she can add to the total again when she competes in the under-21 nationals March 24th to 31st in Fort McMurray. Team Weed, Shayla Haywood, Ty Diello, Jennifer Clark-Rauer, had a 6-win, 2-loss record in the Neepawa event. They lost A and B qualifiers to former champions, Braden Calvert, Carby, and Sean Grassi, Deer Lodge, respectively. They won their C qualifier with a win over Michael Sawicki from Granite to advance to the Page playoff 3-4 game. In the playoff round, they had a 7-3 win over Kevin Paramore from Arden, and then defeated Grassi 6-3 in the semifinal and Calvert 4-3 in the final. The Fort Rouge team will represent Manitoba at the Canadian Mixed in November of 2024. Prior to winning her 3rd championship of the season, Haywood had been one of only 20 Manitoba curlers to have won a pair of titles in a single season. The first to accomplish this feat was Lloyd Gunlison, who won the men's and seniors men's in 1983. Most recent to do it was Ryan Campbell, who won this year's under-20 mixed doubles after earlier winning the under-18 men's. And the Royal Manitoba Winter Fair, March 25th to 30th, 2024. A spring break tradition for over 115 years, the Royal Manitoba Winter Fair has made its return to Brandon and the Keystone Centre. This pinnacle event is held annually during March spring break and is one of Western Canada's largest agricultural events and the largest annual event to be held in Brandon. The RMWF is one of only 2 fairs in Canada to receive royal designation from Queen Elizabeth II and has been recognized as one of the top 100 events in North America, receiving numerous awards from the tourism industry. At the Royal Manitoba Winter Fair, you can expect to see world-class show jumping, heavy horse competitions, livestock sales and displays, a quality hands-on agricultural education program, exceptional live entertainers, over 300 commercial and agricultural exhibits, and much more. And this week we have the special Farmers Advocate edition. First, Canadian cattle numbers decline by Sean Kabak. On January 1st, 2024, Canadian cattle, hog, and sheep inventories were down compared to last year. The Canadian cattle herd fell to the lowest level since 1989. Canadian hog inventories fell for the second consecutive year, and Canadian sheep inventories declined for the first time since 2020. Canadian farmers held 11.1 million cattle and calves on their farms on January 1st, down 2.1% from the same date the previous year. However, in 2022, average carcass weights of the cattle increased 18% compared with 1999, helping offset any decline in beef production over that period. Canadian cattle producers retained less breeding stock, with year-over-year decreases observed in all breeding stock categories. Producers held fewer feeder heifers, down 0.7%, steers, down 0.2%, and calves, down 3%, compared with January 1st, 2023. Beef cows were down 2.4% at 3.46 million head, with the West down 2% and the East down 5%. In Manitoba, total cattle inventories declined 2.1%. After steadily declining from 1961 through 2009, dairy cows have been relatively stable since 2010, ranging between 943 to 979,000 head. Beef from dairy sources, cull cows, veal, and finished to full weight, represent 21% of total beef productions in 2023 and has ranged between 20 to 22% since 2020. 2024 Canadian cropping intentions. According to Statistics Canada, Canadian farmers expect to plant more wheat, grain corn, oats, lentils, and dry peas in 2024, while area seeded to canola, soybeans, and barley is anticipated to decrease compared with 2023. At the national level, farmers anticipate planting 27 million acres of wheat in 2024, up slightly from 2023. Spring wheat area is expected to decrease 1.2% to 19.2 million acres, while area seeded to winter wheat will drop 3.6%. Manitoba farmers anticipate planting 3.3 million acres of wheat, down 0.6%. Canola area is expected to decrease 3.1% from 2023 to 21.4 million acres in 2024, roughly in line with the 5-year average. In Manitoba, farmers expect seeded area of canola to rise 2.4% to 3.2 million acres. Nationally, farmers anticipate planting 5.6 million acres of soybeans in 2024, down 0.9% from 2023. Manitoba producers expect to plant fewer acres of soybeans, falling 7.2% to 1.5 million acres. Barley and oats. Nationwide, barley acreage is expected to fall 2.5% to 7.1 million acres in 2024, possibly because of lower exports and strong competition from other crops. Barley area is expected to decrease in Manitoba 4.5% to 395,900 acres. Oat area is expected to rise 21.6% to 3.1 million acres because of low oat stocks. At the national level, farmers expect to plant 3.9 million acres of corn for grain in 2024, up 1.6%. For the second year in a row, producers in Manitoba reported an increase in expected area of corn for grain, rising 5.8% in 2024 to 585,800 acres. Farmers across Canada expect to plant more acres of dry peas in 2024, with area anticipated to rise 2.4% to 3.1 million acres compared with 2023. And doing what's best for our land, Central Assiniboine Watershed District provides programming review by Casper Warren. Watershed districts play an important role in both conservation and agriculture. That's why the Central Assiniboine Watershed District, CAWD, which services Carbrian area, was out and about providing introductions in its current programming earlier this month. Watershed districts collaborate with the agricultural sector to improve and conserve environment and habitats by providing incentives to encourage stewardship practices. There are lots and lots of benefits to having a watershed district and conservation district, said the District GROW PWCP coordinator Haley Garden. Mainly, it helps keep the land to its natural state, or more natural than it's kind of erring to. Gardam explained further, stating, I find sometimes we're having a lot of farms getting no shelter built and telling everything up, so we're seeing a lot of erosion and all that happening. A lot of our new practices that we're helping to try to fund kind of help eliminate that. So it's kind of pulling us back a bit and doing what's best for our land. Programs of 4 different types were presented and discussed by Gardam. These were the in-house Central Assiniboine Watershed District, CAWD, programming, Growing Outcomes in Watersheds, GROW programs, and the Prairie Watershed and Climate Program, PWCP, and Resilient Agricultural Landscape Program, RALP initiatives. Variety is key. The programs and initiatives cover a wide variety of projects and practices, such as tree planting, rotational grazing, well capping, well shock chlorination, water retention, conservation of Class 1 ephemeral and 2 temporary wetlands, as outlined by the Stewart and Kankade classification system, the creation of shelter belts, nitrogen management, integration of trees and grazing livestock on the same land, soil testing, and beaver leveler service, and more. The beaver leveler is a beaver deceiver, said Gardam. It stops beavers from plugging up the culvert and keeps the water levels towards what they are supposed to be. When it comes to planting trees and creating shelter belts, Gardam noted that the diversity in species is important for a variety of reasons. Firstly, depending on the varieties of foliage selected, these areas can be beneficial to pollinators. Another benefit comes from height variance. Lots of times, if you grow, say, an evergreen and a Saskatoon, they create height variation, which helps with snow capture and wind. I'm fond of pollinators, so I like to try to make it more diverse and flowery, but it's mainly the snow and wind capture and the protection of each other's trees, said Gardam. I would recommend a 3-row shelter belt, so you'd put one tall, an evergreen or poplar, then you'd go to a smaller tree like a cardigan, and then another smaller shrub, but is what best suits your farm. A natural pest. Although it doesn't have its own outline program, Gardam noted that the area farmers via RALP can also get assistance with a particular pest, leafy spurge. Leafy spurge is an invasive species originating from Central and Southern Europe. It first came to North America in the 19th century, appearing in Alberta in 1933, and Saskatchewan soon after, before spreading further. In addition to being invasive, it is also classed as a noxious weed under the Weed Control Act. This plant is particularly troublesome, as its seeds can remain dormant in the soil for approximately 8 years. But that's not all. This plant is able to overtake prairie and field vegetation by shading and absorbing the available water and nutrients, as well as releasing toxins that prevent nearby plant growth. Leafy spurge is also an irritant to most livestock and can cause severe skin rashes or irritation in humans. There's no blanket application or example of how this leafy spurge assistance is going to look, but if you do have leafy spurge, give us a call. We can hopefully guide you onto the right path, said Gardam. Farmers should also be aware that while GROW or other programs from within the CAWD office do not have application deadlines, there are busy seasons for certain programming. As well, PWCP, which is a federally funded program service, does have application deadlines. PWCP programming applications for 2024 open this April and will be due by March of next year. To learn more about the available programs, view Gardam's full presentation on NACTV or visit the CAWD website at centralassiniboinewd.ca. The CAWD office can also be reached by phone via 877-535-2139. And we move into sports. Neepawa Titans are playoff bound. They will face Virden Oil Capitals and MJHL First Round Series. And pictured above, Neepawa's Mason Hartley, number 14, advances the puck into the OCN zone during the Titans' final regular season home game on Sunday, March 17th. Neepawa will return to the Yellowhead Center this weekend for their first-round playoff series against the Virden Oil Capitals. By Owen Devereaux. A 6-year postseason drought has come to an end for the Neepawa Titans, with the club securing the 4th and final playoff spot in the Manitoba Junior Hockey League's West Division. The Titans closed out the regular season with a 28-29-1 record and 57 points in the standings. Those 28 wins on the year are the most any Neepawa MJHL club has been able to accumulate since the 2009-2010 season. It's also the most regular season points put together in nearly a generation. The last time Neepawa made the playoffs was in 2016-2017, where they faced the Steinbach Pistons in the first round, eventually falling to that year's top-seeded team 4-2. This year's return to the postseason will see the Neepawa versus the Virden Oil Capitals, 40-12, 3-3, 86 points. A soft spot for Neepawa. As for this year's results, Titans head coach and general manager Ken Pearson says it means a lot to him to be a part of this return to the playoffs. He did add, however, it's not only his accomplishment to be happy about. While I left Neepawa in 1996 to pursue coaching opportunities, I've always had a soft spot for the franchise. I wanted this community to have success. To have been able to come back and play a small part in this is something I'm proud of. But it's not just me, though. The board of directors, the volunteers, the coaches, trainers, and all the scouts and support staff were committed to the plan and all gave of themselves. And that's a big reason why we made progress over the years and why we're where we are right now, noted Pearson. But when it comes down to it, it has to be for the players. They're from all across Canada and the United States, but they've treated Neepawa like their own home. They've been playing for this community, especially in the last month, the last dozen or so games, just pushing for a place in the playoffs. Pearson added that after the season-ending injury to team captain Cody Goodnison back in February, the players were initially stunned. He noted, however, that as opposed to deflating the locker room for the rest of the regular season, it motivated them to win for their fallen leader. And on to Virden. The next challenge for Neepawa will be a difficult opponent in the Virden Oil Capitals. In their first 6 games against one another this season, the pair of teams split their series 3 wins apiece. Pearson said the Oil Caps are always a well-prepared team with a lot of talent on all 4 lines. He said while the Titans roster does match up well, it'll all come down to playing smart, disciplined hockey. Game 1 of this best-of-7 series will be in Virden on Friday, March 22nd. The second game will be in Neepawa at the Yellowhead Center on Sunday, March 24th. Start time is scheduled for 6:30 p.m. And after the March 24th game, Game 4 will be Thursday, March 28th at Yellowhead with a 7:30 start time, and Game 6, Tuesday, April 2nd at the Yellowhead at 7:30. And NAC Tigers battling Vincent Massey in WHSHL champion by Owen Devereaux. And pictured above, the Neepawa Tigers dominated in Game 1 of the WHSHL final on Saturday, March 16th, winning 9-1. It would be the exact opposite the very next day in Brandon as the Vincent Massey Vikings replied with a 7-2 victory. The third and deciding game of this best-of-3 series was played on Wednesday, March 20th in Neepawa, just after the Banner and Press publication deadline. Picture and details from that game will appear in March 29th edition of the newspaper. The 2 best teams in the Westman High School Hockey League, the WHSHL, are proving exactly how above and beyond they actually were compared to the rest of the league this season. The Neepawa Tigers and Vincent Massey Vikings have each played games in the final that made them appear to be the greatest show on ice. For the Tigers, this near-perfect performance turned into a 9-1 win in the opening game of the best-of-3 final. Neepawa jumped out to a huge lead right off the bat on Saturday, March 16th, scoring 5 goals in the first period. Tarek Lapointe opened up just 48 seconds into the period with his third of the playoffs. Lincoln Murray followed up close to the midway point of the period on a power play. Tyler Cook, Brodie Pollock, and a second on the night for LaPointe would follow before the first intermission. Shots on goal from that period were lopsided, 30-12 in favor of the Tigers. The second period saw Vincent Massey push back, outshooting Neepawa 15-12. The Tigers, however, scored 2 more goals in their chances, making it 7-0 after 40 minutes. Cohen Kalbaki and Ian Foster were credited with these goals. Then in the third period, Cohen and Pollock each scored their second goals of the game, while the Vikings only answered back with 1 to make it a 9-1 final score. Total shots on goal for the game were 58-33 in favor of the Tigers. Much different results in Game 2. The next afternoon, these two teams were in Brandon for Game 2. This matchup would have a much different results, as Vincent Massey answered with a 7-2 win. Once again in this game, Neepawa started off quick, registering 22 shots in the first period compared to the Vikings' 8. It was Vincent Massey with the lone goal, however, after that initial 20 minutes. For the second, the Vikings would add 2 more before Cohen Kalbaki replied with a shorthanded score, making it 3-1. Vincent Massey added another, followed by Kalbaki collecting his second goal of the period with just 1 second left before the intermission. In the last 20 minutes of the action, it was all Vikings as they scored a trio of times to make a final 7-2 score. Shots on goal were 50-32 for Neepawa. Game 3 of the final was played on Wednesday, March 20th at the Yellowhead Centre. Details on the siding showdown will appear in the next issue of the Banner and Press on March 29th. And then we have the Neepawa Figure Skating Club close out the season in style. And pictured on the lower left. In a way, the Taylor Swift Eras Tour made a stop at the Yellowhead Centre recently as the Neepawa Figure Skating Club, NFSC, held its year-end performance on March 15th. The music of Swift was the theme for the show, which featured all the NFSC members showcasing their skills learned over the year. You can see 3 pictures of them in action. And, oh my goodness. Well, there are, unfortunately, a number of obituaries in the paper today. We have Pearl May Drysdale from May 2nd, 1930 to February 27th, 2024. And Phyllis Harburn passed away at 93 years old. And John Robert Kunzelman passed away. He was born in April 26, 1943, and passed away at the age of 80 on March 4th. Blaine Morley Henderson, born in March 7, 1944, and passed away on March 9th, 2024. And Dorothy Mildred Snyder was born February 2nd, 1931 in Kellow, Manitoba, and she passed away this year. And finally, Evelyn Kaharski passed away March 5th, 2024 at the age of 94. And that appears, we should mention that there's a free community skate with coffee, hot chocolate, and donuts Wednesday, March 27th, 1 to 3 p.m. at the Yellowhead Community Center. And you can RSVP by email to dan.mazier.c1@parle.gc.ca. So that concludes the reading of the paper for March 22nd. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for listening.